Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Monday, May 15th, 2023. The observed precipitation for the past 7 days is shown here with the amounts on the left and the percent of normal on the right. It's been a pretty dry week over Nevada, but we did see some precip over Idaho and over the portions of the higher elevations of central and western Utah. Here we're looking at the satellite imagery for this morning. We can see some of that moisture that moved through the Great Basin overnight into the morning hours, kicking off thunderstorms yesterday. It continues to move northward as that low moves up into the Pacific Northwest. The big story for this week is we'll see a ridge moving into the Great Basin, increasing temperatures quite a bit up to above normal, quite a bit above normal for this week, with some moisture lingering in place for some possible daily thunderstorms, especially over Utah. So for this afternoon, ridge beginning to build back into the Great Basin again as the low moves up into the Pacific Northwest. Still some moisture associated with that low for some thunderstorms lingering over portions of Utah and up into Idaho. Ventilation rates are pretty high for most of the area. Transport winds are not too high, especially over Utah and southern Nevada. We do see some higher values there over western Nevada associated with that low, and some areas in Idaho as well. Mixing heights are high over much of Nevada, up into Idaho, with a little bit lower values over eastern Utah. On Tuesday, we begin to see the ridge continuing to strengthen over the Great Basin, but we do see some moisture, southerly moisture moving up into the area as well, which will keep the threat for afternoon thunderstorms in the forecast. Ventilation rates are pretty high for tomorrow. Transport winds decrease over western Nevada tomorrow, with generally light winds across much of the area, except where we may see some thunderstorm activity. And mixing heights remain high across much of the region as well. More of the same generally is expected on Wednesday, the ridge remaining dominant feature, although we may begin to see this low, the low over the Pacific Northwest dig back down into the Great Basin, which could increase chances of some thunderstorms here and there. And ventilation rates remain high. On Wednesday, the overall wind pattern remains light under the ridge, but some winds will pick up associated with any thunderstorms in the southern Great Basin. And then we see winds pick up over Idaho and western Wyoming as well, as that low possibly moves back through the area. Mixing heights remain high for most of the region. And the clearing index for Utah is shown here for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, with values quite high, high clearing index for the next few days. Three-day precipitation totals are shown here, with some precip expected over Idaho and into southern Utah, mainly over the higher elevations there, as we see that southerly moisture moving back in over the next few days. On Thursday, the ridge really amplifies over the Great Basin, especially over western portions of the Great Basin, with still some lingering moisture over southern and eastern parts of the basin, especially Utah. Ventilation rates remain high. More the same on Friday. So the ridge remains in place, keeping temperatures very warm, again, especially over the west, with lingering moisture in the east and high ventilation rates. Maximum temperatures on Friday are shown here. We're going to hit 90 degrees across our western valleys. That's pretty warm for the third week of May. A little bit cooler in the east as we'll continue to see some cloud cover and maybe some daily thunderstorms there. And the ridge is centered more over the west. Continued hot temperatures on Saturday, we can see a little bit of that moisture still remaining in place under the ridge. And then really continuing into Sunday as well, pretty warm. We may see the ridge weaken just a bit, see temperatures even out somewhat, possibly. Ventilation rates really continue to be fairly high through the period. And the precip accumulations for days 4 and 5, this is Thursday through Friday really, keeping the precip centered over central Idaho mountains, western Wyoming, and the Uintas here in Utah, with a chance of some isolated to scattered thunderstorms and showers there in the southern basin as well. The extended outlook for May 22nd through the 28th is calling for above normal temperatures continuing over the Pacific Northwest and much of the Great Basin, and above normal precip remaining in place again over that the Four Corners area up into the southern half of the Great Basin. This concludes today's smoke dispersion briefing. Please check back on Wednesday for the latest update.